Hello, hello, welcome to hopefully a very short video again. That's why I'm holding this with my hand here, so it won't be that long. A couple of people asked me, oh Veerle, you talked in that last video about short transits coming up. Could you do that a little bit more? Well, yeah, why not? Why not? Because there is so much going on. There is so much going on in the astrological weather, not only this week, but also actually this week is like, it's almost saying like, enjoy yourself as much as you can, because next week is going to be quite neurotic, or quite, neurotic is maybe not the word, but it's going to be huge lessons that can be learned, hopefully. So why is that? I'm speaking here now on Thursday, so tomorrow will be Friday, and we've got some nice aspects coming up for Friday and also for the weekend, because Venus and Mercury have gone out of their shadow period. So a lot of Mercury ruled people and Venus ruled people, so especially those who have an ascendant on Virgo, Gemini, Libra and Taurus, they will feel it, that life has more speed now and things go forward. So that's one thing about, and it's Mercury and Venus are personal planets, so when they are both out of their shadow, it feels like, things continue again, and we have new hope, and we have new aspirations, and Mercury is in a very grounded sign in Taurus, so it's not about fly high in the sky. It's about, I want to get practical, and the mind will be practical as well. So that's good. That's all very, very good. Venus is opposing Jupiter tomorrow. Again, it's that kind of energy of see things big, and it's not bad. It's going with the flow. If you see things a little bit big, and if you love to, yes, it's very inspiring, so to speak, and it's enjoying yourself, but it's also seeing the bigger picture again. So this is really, really nice energy. But then we have next week, and I don't want to say like, but oh watch out. No, it's just next week we will have to be super aware of what is going on. It's the only thing that we can start with. I think awareness is absolutely what astrologers do, probably with when they have clients, and help them with some sort of awareness, and how to what is the best attitude to do when certain energies are coming our way, which are of course a reflection of who we are. Now next week is as I said, a bit of a neurotic week. Why is that? But this neurotic week is one of the key weeks that we have, in that way that we can learn tremendously, we can grow tremendously. And it's always like that, isn't it? When things are going a bit hard, we need to stand still, we need to examine, we need to look what's going on, and we grow from there. That's and getting stronger because of that. So that's the goal of these aspects, because we are going to have aspects with Pluto and Saturn. So last week I was saying that the most difficult aspects is a combination of these two, and now it happens to be that I didn't know it in advance. I'm actually just realizing that as I speak now, no kidding you. So Pluto is very strong next week, and well, very strong. It's aspecting Venus together with Jupiter. It's going to make what we call a T-square, so tension, and also Saturn. Saturn is going to oppose Mars. So it's time to be alert. It's time to be aware of what? Well, in general, of course. I mean, it's totally, this is a totally general kind of forecast. But what is happening here? Okay. But what it means is Venus and Mars are really connected to our desires of what we want to do, what we love, what we don't love. It's really about, Venus and Mars is really about the desire nature, so to speak. And when it's hit by Pluto and Saturn, it often means, and certainly in those hard aspects, it often means that we are going to have these strong desires, or going to have these strong, almost a bit compulsive need of a feeling of we want to do something, or we want something, we want to get something. So be aware of that. That's one thing to be aware of, even if people are not really intense or passionate already in their natal chart, they can feel that. And who's going to feel this the most? Again, the cardinal signs. So Libra, Aries, Cancer and Capricorn, especially the last part. So from 15 degrees and further on. And Mars opposite Saturn is happening at the very end of Gemini, Sagittarius. So people who have mutable signs at the very end of Sagittarius and Gemini, but also Virgo and Pisces. So they go and feel it the most. Actually, almost everyone is going to feel some part of it because there's so many players in the chart. So also people who are Mars ruled are going to feel this. So who have an ascendant of Aries or Scorpio are going to feel this too. So what it means is the following. I'll give you some examples how this can play out. Let's start with Venus-Pluto. Now, Venus-Pluto is a tough aspect to have, whether it is in your natal chart, whether it is in transits going on. When Pluto is one of the most difficult aspects, planets to handle, because it is so deep, it is so unconscious, it's certainly not in the face, it's certainly, you know, things that go, that are not on the surface. And that's why it's so difficult. So therefore, this, hopefully this little video will help to make people a bit more aware, and me too. So, and Venus is not only love, Venus is also our word, our values, what we like and what we stand for. So when Pluto is going to aspect Venus, we will all get a bit more strong-minded about what we love and what we want than we usually would do. For instance, let's say that that I want a leather couch and my boyfriend doesn't want a leather couch. Normally I would say, okay, I don't mind. I mean, it's just a couch. But it can, I know it's a simple example, but now it can really be a time of ego conflicts between values. They can clash, they can simply clash with Pluto and Venus. So be aware of that people can be towards you a bit more platonic, so a bit more controlling, a bit more manipulative. They want you to share their value. So be aware of that. Don't let that happen. I mean, and probably people won't, because they will stand up for their own values. Also the other way around. So you being pushy around, for example, let's say that this is happening in your house. Your Venus is in the 10th house of work, for instance. And you're applying for a new job, and that boss or that boss is really trying to push you to do things and to do that job, and you're the perfect person for this, and they're going to, you know, all these negative things of Pluto, seductive, manipulative ways of getting their way because they have an agenda that's not so beautiful. So it will be up to you to recognize this, to say, hey, but I don't want to do this job. I don't like it. So you will have to stand up for your values, but without, of course, again, going into these ego struggles, because with Pluto, you cannot reason. So, and it can be the other way around as well. So you can be the person that is to another person, depending on your chart. It could be a family member, it could be a loved one, it could be a friend, it could be a colleague that you are going to wanting to push very hard so you get what you want. People who've got Venus Pluto in their natal chart, a connection, wow, they are really go-getters for what they want, and that's what they are learning. They're learning that they're not always gonna get what they want, because there's a higher power, God if you like, that knows exactly what you want. So it's a lesson in surrendering, so to speak. It's a lesson in connecting and trusting that God, or the universe, if you don't believe in God, knows better what's good for you or not. But again, because these energies are playing out, it won't be easy. So there's also a new moon next week, new moon in Gemini. So there are going to be some endings, and that's the extreme possibility. So if your relationship is already, you know, for years and years and years, and things are going under the surface and having problems with that, it could mean an ending, or it could mean at least some sort of crisis, so that you can work on this. And sometimes it is unsolvable. You know, when you, for instance, are in a relationship and you want to live in New York, and your spouse wants to live in LA, well, you've got a problem, don't you? But and these things are going to come to the surface next week. But actually, it's a good thing, because when these things come out and come above the surface, so to speak, you can do something about it, and you can get on with your lives. You know, it's not always a bad thing at all. Ultimately, you could say it's never a bad thing. But again, another example. So it could be that I've seen people lately with so Pluto and Venus intensifies and makes it more passionate. You know, what we want and what we love. And again, there's nothing wrong about that. There's nothing wrong about being passionate, about being a little bit intense. But there is a border, you could say, or when you step over and then you become fixated upon something. The tunnel vision, as we speak, the tunnel vision and the obsessive nature and neurotic kind of energy. That's why I said it's going to be a neurotic week. If you feel that, and you're going to feel it, if that is going on, you need to stop, and you need to really examine your desires very carefully, if they are the good ones. And I'll give you an example. I saw a client the other day, because when we are a bit too tunnel vision obsessed, it overtakes us. Obsession means, what does it mean? Obsediare comes from the Latin word obsediare. It means that you're kind of possessed, you know, you lose the control. And this is exactly what Pluto wants us to learn, to be in control, to master our desires, to master our feelings, and to work with them in a constructive way. And I had a client the other day, and it was on his Mercury. He had Mercury in the 9th house and Pluto bang on it in Capricorn. And although it was not a man that was usually very intense or very, you know, having this neurotic nature, but he was totally, he lost himself in was it a law case, or how do you call that, a lawsuit? So he was so fixated on getting his right, and it doesn't matter when you're right or not, it's just that energy was so fixated, and it was about property, a family, and he knew that he was right, and he was totally neglecting his relationship, his work, because it was so all-consuming. Of course, that's not positive energy. Even when you're doing this for the right course, there is again, with Pluto, when you do things for yourself, consciously or even unconsciously, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Pluto really demands to do something for the collective. Then you can use this intense energy and getting what you want, and you will come far even with this square. So examine that, and again, it will be impossible to reason with these people, because they are in the midst of that I couldn't reason with that client. I couldn't. He was so into it, But when it's a transit, you'll see exactly when that process ends. So you cannot force someone to go a bit faster in that process. They need to go through that kind of neurotic kind of state in order to understand this unconsciousness and understand this lesson in mastering of what you want and not want. So at another level, I saw another client, and she just had a Pluto on her Venus in the 5th house, and she was totally obsessed about her son. And we're totally obsessed. I mean, it's not about helping, and I love them, and no, it's not about that. It's a weakness. So next week we are going to see a lot of our weaknesses, but embrace them. Don't be sad, don't be angry with yourself, just embrace that some weaknesses are going to show up there. It's a weakness when you're trying to control someone. It took up until the transit of the Pluto on her Venus was gone that she was ready for it. She had that whole process of, her son was like 24 or something, and he still lived at home, and she was totally directing his life. So a very toxic relationship. But she overcome it. She understood, and now she's way stronger and way more aware. And why is she stronger? Because she manages those strong feelings. Again, Pluto is not about, oh, I like this. No, Pluto is about, oh, I must have this. So it's so very strong. Now, so that's one thing. Another thing is Saturn. So if this wasn't enough, Saturn is going to oppose Mars. Again, some kind of neurotic energy. So do have fun this weekend, and do some stuff that you really love, so you're really relaxed. And Saturn opposing Mars is also, Mars is our also desire. It is what we want to do. And Saturn opposing it's not necessarily bad, but it means, again, that we might see some blockages and some restrictions. And what is it telling us, those restrictions? Maybe some fears as well. But ultimately what it wants to do is to master our doing. Saturn-Mars aspect, or a Saturn to Pluto, a Saturn or a Pluto aspect to Mars, if people have that, even in a difficult angle, they are, and when they are a bit older, they are masters in their actions. They can overly focus on some goal. So here it's a bit the same story. It's about when things are not going the way that you want them to go, trust again. Trust that there is some bigger plan happening, and that's maybe tomorrow when Jupiter and Venus are opposing each other. It's a good time to reach out to the divine and to say some prayers, maybe, because that's going to put out, so energetically, it's going to put you in a state of I do what I need to do, and then I trust that what is going on is the best for me. And that's very difficult when you're gonna have these alignments next week. So enough of this, but again, it's we're gonna learn so much next week. Some people are gonna learn a bit more than others, depending on your personal chart. If you want to know more, just get in touch, and we'll manage your reading. But be aware of the fact that when things are going very difficult next week and very challenging, know that you are extremely growing stronger and mastering yourself. So that's a strong person, right? A strong person is not a person that manipulates and that wants to do things their way. No, we often think that, though. So people who've got Pluto or Saturn to a personal planet, often they get what they want, but it won't last forever because it's such a negative way. So yeah, enough about these exciting transits next week. Enjoy the weeks. Thanks for listening and see you soon. Bye bye.